At this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
The idea to blitz the capital with bombs.
There is, quote, complete confusion.
This will be a campaign unlike any other in history.
Senior Iraqi military leadership.
Bang, 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 all in the same.
These are barbaric people, servants of evil, the cult of evil. A monumental struggle of good versus evil. States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil, arming to threaten the peace of the world.
Particularly in the early stages, news coverage of war is much more like PR about war.
U.S. military units in Kuwait as part of the Pentagon's effort to make any war with Iraq what the Pentagon calls a media-friendly campaign. Another part of that effort is on display at the U.S. Military Command Center in Qatar. A Hollywood set designer was brought in to create a $200,000 backdrop for official war briefings.
That Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction. Weapons of mass destruction.
Botulinum, VX, sarin, nerve agent.
Iraq and Al-Qaeda.
Iraq and Al-Qaeda.
Terrorism. Cyber attacks.
Nuclear program.
Biological weapons. Cruise missiles, ballistic missiles.
Chemical and biological weapons.
Iraq has weapons of mass destruction.
President Bush has said Iraq has weapons of mass destruction.
As everyone has said, they think it's going to be something like $2 billion this year. They think it might be something like 15, 12 next year.
Anthrax, smallpox,
Dirty bomb.
Iraq Al-Qaeda connections.
Saddam Hussein and Al-Qaeda share the same goal. They want to see, both of them want to see Americans dead.
The White House says it can prove that Saddam Hussein does have weapons of mass destruction, claiming it has solid evidence.
The White House insisted again today it does have solid evidence that Saddam Hussein is hiding an arsenal of prohibited weapons.
So the money's going to come from Iraqi oil revenue, as everyone has said. They think it's going to be something like $2 billion this year. They think it might be something like 15, 12 next year.
It seems to me that the right thing to do for patriots when American lives are at risk and Americans are dying is to unite behind the troops until victory is won.
Hired journalist Peter Arnett this morning for participating in an interview on Iraqi state-controlled television.
Arnett criticized American war planning and said his reports about civilian casualties in the Iraqi resistance were encouraging to anti-war protesters in America.
We talked to several people who told us that various friends and relatives had died in the bombing there, in that collateral damage. Nick Robertson, CNN, Kandahar, Afghanistan.
And we would just remind you, as we always do now with these reports from inside the Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, that you're seeing only one side of the story, that these U.S. military actions that Nick Robertson was talking about are in response to a terrorist attack that killed 5,000 and more innocent people inside the United States.
Kandahar, and we juxtapose what we're hearing from the Taliban with a live picture of the cleanup that continues in Lower Manhattan. Ground Zero, again, a 24-hour operation that has not ebbed. 5,000 killed that day back on Tuesday, September 11th, their biggest crime, as civilians going to work that day.
More civilians were killed by that bombing in Afghanistan than those who died in the Twin Towers in New York. And the moral objections that could be raised to slaughtering civilians in the name of retaliation against 9/11, those objections were muted by the phrase war on terror, by the way in which it was used by the White House and Congress, and also by the news media.
And perhaps to an extent my station was intimidated by the administration and its foot soldiers at Fox News.
We should have been more skeptical. I've fallen almost in love with the F-18 Super Hornet because it's quite a versatile plane.
I got to tell you, my favorite aircraft, the A-10 Warthog. I love the Warthogs.
This morning around 4 a.m. local time, the first three took off, and when you're 300 feet away from them when they do it, you hear it in your shoes and feel it in your gut.
Should they have used more? Should they, use a Moab, the mother of all bombs, and a few daisy cutters, and, let's not just stop at a couple of cruise missiles.
Newest, biggest, baddest U.S. bomb.
We'll pound them with 2,000-pound bombs and then go in.
2,000-pound bombs in urban areas?
Oh, sure.
The plane I'm holding in my hand here, the F-117 stealth fighter, was used in these attacks.
Targeting to see that the precise targets are struck and that other targets are not struck is as impressive as anything anyone could see. The care that goes into it, the humanity that goes into it, to see that military targets are destroyed, to be sure, but that it's done in a way and in a manner and in a direction and with a weapon that is appropriate to that very particularized target. The weapons that are being used today have a degree of precision that no one ever dreamt of.
We're not leaving so long as I'm the president. That would be a huge mistake. Any sign that says we're going to leave before the job is done simply emboldens terrorists.
You want the United States to win in Iraq?
I can't tell who's winning and who's losing.
Do you believe that we are currently winning in Iraq?
We are not winning, but we are not losing.
We are losing.
We're winning it.
You're winning this war?
I couldn't tell you.
We strive for peace.
Oil revenue, as everyone has said, they think it's going to be something like $2 billion this year. They think it might be something like 15, 12 next year.